So today we are going to be talking about social media campaigns, okay? So let's start with some truths. Maybe some truths that some of you guys don't want to hear. And this is what a lot of business owners don't always realize when they're posting. One of the biggest lies out there in the social media ecosystem is you just have to post consistently and your business will grow. That is the biggest load of crock I've ever heard. That is not how it works. So what happens is because this is a narrative that's been pumped into us, we show up online every single day and people are posting quotes, posting tips, posting reels, sharing their thoughts, and they're staying busy creating content. But what happens is after weeks or sometimes even after months, the results are not meeting the effort. Drop a one in the chat if you've realized that. You're posting, but your results are not giving the effort. And I'm seeing those ones coming through really quickly. We've all experienced this. The thing is, when you do that, engagement is unpredictable, inquiries are kind of inconsistent, and the sales don't reflect the amount of time that you're spending online. And that leads people to believe that something is wrong with the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't like me. The algorithm's not working for me. And most of the time, not all the time, most of the time, the algorithm isn't the problem. The real issue is something that's much simpler. Most business owners are posting content, but very few are running social media campaigns. Okay. So think of it this way. Posting is an activity, but a campaign is a strategy. Posting is random, but a campaign has direction. It has an end goal. Posting fills up your feed and a campaign moves people somewhere, right? So successful brands do not just show up online and hope that something sticks. They build intentional campaigns that guide their audience toward its very specific action. And that action can be joining a workshop, it can be buying a product, it can be booking a service, it can be becoming part of community, it can be joining your wait list. So when you shift from posting to campaigning, social media stops feeling like a guessing game and it actually becomes a useful tool. So before we continue any further today, if this is your first time on one of my sessions with me, I love lots of interaction because the more interaction I get, the more hyped I get, the more likely you are going to hear my Bajan accent come through, but the better session you get, okay? So I'm going to be calling numbers throughout the session and I need some reaction when I call the numbers. So the first one is drop a one in the chat if you realize you may be posting but not running a campaign. Andrew is first in there. Melanie, Harriet, Lauti, Cheryl, Tommy, Diane, Faisal, Charles. All those ones are coming through really quickly. And more importantly, drop a two in the chat if you realize that your content may simply just be filling your feed up instead of actually moving people towards a decision. And I'm seeing Christine, Carly, Melanie, Nigel, Miata, John, Nick, Diane, I am seeing these twos. Kirsty, Karen, these twos are coming through thick and furious. Absolutely amazing. So let's kick off this session. So the first thing I want to do is talk about posting versus campaigning, because like I said in the introduction, this is where many business owners get stuck. So there is a big difference between posting on social media and running a campaign. And what happens is most people are stuck in the first section, just posting on social media. So posting usually looks something like this. One day you'll share a quote, the next day you'll share a tip, and then maybe a reel about your business, right? A few days later, you might or might not mention your products or your service, and then you go back to another motivational post. And everything you're posting is probably really good content, but there's no thread connecting it all together. It's like random posts. So there's no build up and there's no clear message being repeated. Okay. Also, there's no clear destination for the audience. People don't know where to go. So your social media ends up being like a collection of posts rather than a journey. So that's what posting looks like. Now, let me compare that to a campaign because a campaign looks very different. A campaign starts with a clear outcome, and this is somewhere that you want your audience to go. right? So like I said earlier, maybe you want them to join your wait list. Maybe you want them to book a one-to-one call with you. Maybe you want them to join your workshop, but you've got a clear place that you want them to go to. Okay. So instead of posting randomly, every piece of content starts supporting the same outcome. So you repeat the same message, but you just repeat it in different ways or from different angles. Okay. So you tell stories that highlight the same problem consistently, right? You share insights that point towards the same solution, and gradually over days, over weeks, over months, you guide your audience towards a specific action. So that is a campaign. And what happens is a campaign creates momentum because people start seeing the same conversation show up in your content. They start recognizing the message and they start understanding who you are and what you do. And eventually they will feel ready to move, right? So without a campaign, your audience sees one post and the next day you're talking about something completely different and the message keeps changing and they're lost. They don't know who you are. They don't know what you do. All right. And this is why so many business owners say that their social media gets engagement, but it doesn't turn into clients. Drop a 3 in the chat if you resonate with that. You realize that you're posting, you're getting likes, you're getting engagement, but you're not getting clients. And you're like, it doesn't add up. Why not? It's because engagement is not the same as direction. And I'm seeing those threes coming through. A campaign gives your content direction. So instead of just filling your feed, your content starts leading them somewhere. And once you understand that shift, social media is going to stop feeling quite so random and it's going to become more intentional. So drop a 4 in the chat if you realize now that your content needs to lead them somewhere. Drop a 4 in the chat if you realize now that your content needs to lead them somewhere. Charlotte, Melanie, Tommy, Nigel, Lisa, Cheryl, Charles, Angela. I'm seeing these 4s coming through. Nick, B, Shabs, Miata. I can't keep up with the names. They're going so quickly. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So would it really be a Masters of Influence session if we didn't have some sort of system to follow, right? So we've got the 5C campaign framework. We've got a system because that's how we do it around here. So let me introduce you to this framework. Because like I said, most business owners believe that social media success is just about posting more content, but content is actually very important. But in this framework, it's actually the 4th step out of 5. So you're missing three really important steps if you're going straight to content all the time. So the framework consists of, and we're going to go through these one by one, so don't worry, but the framework consists of clarity, customer, conversation, content, and conversion, right? So clarity, customer, conversation, content, and conversion. And as I said, so you can see that before content, we've got 3 steps: clarity, customer, and conversation. And if those 3 are not clear, content is going to start to become very random. So the 5C framework helps you to build campaigns that actually move people towards a decision. So let's jump into the first C. The first C is clarity. Write that down, please. Clarity. So what clarity means is when you're forming a campaign, you have to think, what is this campaign for? What's the end goal, right? Every campaign must start with a few simple questions. Every campaign must start with a few simple questions. Number 1, what is the goal of the campaign and what are we actually trying to achieve from it? Because without clarity, social media becomes endless activity. You're posting, you're reacting, sharing things, but no real movement is happening. So clarity means deciding the destination before you start posting. So maybe you're running your campaign because you want them to book a one-to-one call with you. Maybe you're running a workshop and you want to fill up your workshop. Maybe you want to build your community. So when the goal is clear, every piece of content has a direction. So without clarity, you're just filling your feed up. So what's the first step? Let me know in the chat. What's the first step of the 5C framework? What is the first C of the 5C framework? Because I need everybody to get this. Clarity, Cheryl. Clarity, clarity, clarity. Well done. Well done. you're paying attention. I mean, it helps that it's big on the screen, but you're paying attention. I'm loving this. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So the second thing we're going to talk about now is the customer. And this is where that avatar work comes in. So who is the campaign for? So the second mistake people make is that they're trying to speak to everyone. But campaigns work best when they speak to someone in particular. You have your avatar. So just for clarity for me, drop a one in the chat if you've already done the avatar framework that we set out a few weeks ago, and drop a two if you haven't yet done the avatar framework. Okay, so I'm seeing the new people haven't done the avatar, which is fine. Charles, you're not new, but okay. Okay, I'm seeing some twos there. Okay, so I will show you in the portal at the end of this session. I will show you in the portal where you can find that avatar framework so you can set it up because it's really important for your social media campaigns. Okay, so basically you need to know, who are we talking to? What are they struggling with? So their pains. What do they want to achieve? What do they want to gain? Because when people feel like you're speaking directly to them, then they're more likely to pay attention to what you're saying. Okay. So for example, for me, yes, I talk to entrepreneurs, but not just entrepreneurs. My avatar is women rebuilding confidence, small business owners struggling with visibility. So when I am talking, that is who I am talking to. Maybe you're talking to professionals who are transitioning into entrepreneurship. Maybe you're talking to people that don't have enough time to plan their gardens. Maybe you're talking, whoever it is that you're talking to, people that need help with property, right? So the clearer the audience, the clearer your messaging is becoming. So drop a four in the chat if you understand why you need to go back and do that avatar work if you haven't done it yet. And if you have done it, well done. Why the importance of why you did it. And I am seeing those fours coming through. Amazing, amazing, amazing. You guys are cooking with gas today. 100% says Tommy, Aiko, Harriet, Nisi, Melanie, Vanessa, Lot. I'm seeing those fours coming through. So now let's talk about conversation. So conversation is number three. Conversation is, what message are we repeating? This is where most campaigns start to build momentum. A campaign is essentially a conversation that's repeated in different ways. Not 10 different messages, one message told through different content. I'm going to say that again. We're not saying 10 different messages. You're going to focus on one message, but you're going to tell it from different angles. And you're going to tell it through stories. You're going to do it through insights. You're going to have examples, questions, education. Right? So for example, again, using my business, I'm building confidence in women, confidence in business as well. So my conversation might include why women stay small, why confidence affects income, why identity shapes how we show up, because all of that are the pains of what my avatar is facing, right? So different posts, but the same underlying conversation. So repetition builds recognition, and recognition builds trust. Okay, so drop a five in the chat for me if you understand that. You're saying the same thing, but from different angles all the time. And the reason why you come from different angles is because some people may resonate with one message. So I might say to somebody, are you lacking confidence? And they might say, yes, I am. But not everybody resonates with that, even though they're lacking confidence. But then if I say something like, have you been afraid to apply for a promotion? She might think, yes, I am afraid to apply for that promotion, but she doesn't recognize that as a lack of confidence, right? So this is why you have to say things in different ways, but you're getting to the same point overall. And I'm seeing those fives coming through. Absolutely amazing. So the fourth one that we're going to talk about is content. So this is the one that everybody does. This is the one that everybody knows. This is the bread and butter of it, right? This is the fun part. So the content is, how will we deliver the message, right? And this is where we start to choose the format. So are you going to be doing reels? Are you going to be doing carousels? Are you going to do Instagram lives or lives on Facebook, on TikTok? Are you going to be through your stories, posts, testimonials? The important thing here is you mix it up. You don't just do one thing all the time. So if your main page is Instagram, for example, carousels seem to be doing very, very well now. So make sure you're throwing some carousels in there, okay? Also do a couple of reels, stories. People love stories. Could you please repeat the last statement? Builds repetition builds recognition, and recognition builds trust, Amy. So repetition builds recognition. Let me see if I can copy that out for you. Yeah, and drop it in the chat. Just bear with me. There you go. Repetition builds recognition. Recognition builds trust. Okay, so in content, there's something really important you need to remember. Content is the vehicle, but content is not your strategy. Okay, that's really important. Write that down. Content is your vehicle, but content is not your strategy. Content is simply how we deliver the message that we've already decided on. Okay, so when the earlier steps are clear, the first three steps that we went through, creating content becomes much easier because you already know who you're speaking to, you already know what you're saying, and you already know where you're guiding them. Okay, so it kind of, because you've done the first three steps, it takes the guesswork out of what you're doing. And the last thing in this 5-step framework is conversion. So the conversion is, what action should people take? What action should people take? So this is the step that many business owners avoid. We feel like we need to pour into people, but then when it comes to the arts, we all back down, right? Every campaign should lead people towards an action. Not pressure, not force, but direction. So what is it you want people to do next? Do you want them to download something? Maybe you've got a PDF. Do you want them to download something? Do you want them to complete your quiz? Do you want them to comment a word? So it depends, Charlotte. How long should a campaign last, Charlotte? It all depends. So when I've done campaigns in the past, I usually do them for about 2 weeks. But I would say probably 10 days is probably the sweet spot. 10 days. It depends on how big the thing is that you're launching. So if you're doing a waitlist campaign, for example, you might do your waitlist, but then you might repeat it afterwards. You might be repeating it for a while, right? Because you start to build your waitlist, they're starting to come on, and then you might want to get more people because you're not quite ready to launch your product yet. So it all depends on what it is that you're launching. Okay. Can you have multiple campaigns? Example, one newsletter campaign and one waitlist. Of course, Harriet, you can. You can have them running at the same time because you're hitting people from different angles. So if you already have an audience built, so you already have your CRM in place, you already have your audience built, you might want to hit them with if you're launching a new product, right? So you run that campaign. But then at the same time, if you want to attract new people in, you're going to run another campaign. It's about, if you have the team in place that can help you run the campaign, because what you don't want to do is have so many campaigns going that you can't focus and then nothing works. However, you don't want to run multiple campaigns on the same platform because then you start to mix up the message, and that's when it gets confusing, right? So you can have an email campaign, like I said, you can have a social media campaign, but don't like have 3 campaigns for 3 different products running at the same time on your social media. Okay. I've forgotten what I was saying now. So download something, right? So without conversion, your content is simply entertainment. You're only entertaining people. You're making them feel good. You're not actually getting anything from them. And there's nothing wrong with making people feel good, but you know, we need it to be a win-win situation. They're getting something from you and you're getting something back. So with conversion, your content becomes a pathway. Okay, your content becomes a pathway. So let's just run back over the 5C framework. So first of all, you've got, actually, I'm going to ask you, well, it's on the screen now. I should have asked you first, but we've got clarity, we've got customer, conversation, content, and conversion. So make sure you've got a screenshot of that or that you've written them down. Now, as I said, this is recorded. So if you need to go back and re-listen to it, that's going to be absolutely fine. You can do that. And like I said earlier, most people start with content, but businesses that grow start with clarity. So we know better now. We are masters of influence. We know better. We know that we cannot start with content. We have to lay the foundation right first. So when you know the goal, when you know your audience, when you know what message you're putting out there, everything is going to become easier. And your content stops feeling random and your social media starts to build momentum. So drop a 7 in the chat if you're going to start to implement the 5C framework into your business. And I am seeing those 7s coming through. Absolutely amazing. I am seeing those 7s coming through. 7, 7, 7, 7. Amazing. Let's go. So I'm going to give you now a campaign example that I did when I was doing my workshop. So my clarity was I wanted to fill up my identity code workshop, right? My customer was women rebuilding confidence and women who needed to solidify their identity or find out who they were. And the conversation I was having with them from different angles was why women lose themselves in the different roles that they play in their life. So like wives, mother, daughter, whatever roles that they play in their life, we were talking about that. That was the conversation around it, right? So those were my first 3 steps. Then I had my content. So I love reels. So I was posting lots of reels. I was telling my story through reels so that people could relate to me, right? I was using carousels as well. So some examples of how I was posting, I had posts like the moment you realize you don't recognize yourself anymore. Another post I had was I forgot my own name. I talked about why women hide their success. I talked a lot about my personal story and what I went through and finding my identity. But at the end of it, I always had the invitation to waitlist for the workshop. So everything I did was pointing towards destination, one destination, okay, which was join the workshop. Now, I know, I know some of you are sitting there probably going, but I do all this and it doesn't work, right? Please explain carousel in this context. So a carousel post is a post you might have, if you're on Instagram, I don't know if you've seen them, but you have a post where you've got several pages on one post and and you can just swipe through. So you might have one point that you want to get to, or you might have tips that you're saying, 5 tips to build your confidence. So your first page would say something like, this is where you're lacking confidence. So your first page is your hook, right? Your second page then explains the first reason why you're lacking confidence, the second reason, the third reason, and they swipe through. And then your last page will have a call to action. So that's what the carousel is like. Okay. And you can put pictures, you can put images, you can put music. So a hook is the thing that hooks people into it. Why are people going to stay on your post? Why are people going to swipe through? So it has to be something that hits the pain of your avatar really hard. Liam often does that. Yeah, exactly. Which slide is this? So this one. So this is where I talk about the content, which is your reels and your carousels and your conversion, which is join the workshop. So remember, this is going to be recorded, so you can always go back and rewatch it, or you can screenshot this as I'm talking, because we're already at half an hour, and I told you guys half an hour. Right. So some of you guys are going to be going, I was thinking it was going to be a stupid question. Nisi, there's no such thing as stupid questions, my lovely. The only stupid question is the one you don't ask, because I guarantee if you're thinking about the question, there's somebody who's not as brave as you who's also thinking it, but they're not you. Exactly, Andrew. Let her know. We don't have no stupid questions here on Masters of Influence, please. Thank you very much. Um, right. So let's do some problem shooting here, right? Why isn't it turning into conversions, even though you think you're doing everything? I guarantee if you think you're doing everything, relook at what you're doing. I guarantee you've missed something, right? So the most common reason why people are not converting is because they have no clear destination. Where are you guiding your audience to? Now, we did an exercise a few weeks back where I was looking at some of your bios, and most of you at that point did not have a call to action in your bio, and you didn't have a link in your bio either. So you're putting all this amazing content out there, and people have nowhere to go. They don't know what to do with it, right? So that's the first thing. Most of you have no destination. So that's the first problem. All right. The second reason is the message that you're posting keeps changing. So think about it. Is there actually consistency and clarity in your posting, or are you just posting whatever comes to mind and you're going to see what sticks? The third thing why a lot of us are not converting is there isn't enough repetition. Always remember this. People really act the first time they see something. In fact, people need to encounter an idea several times, okay, before they actually take action. So remember, repetition builds recognition, and recognition builds trust. 7 times, Nigel. Well done. So if you're not getting the conversions, I want you to think, are you repeating your message enough? Okay. Are you repeating your message enough? And the last reasons are really kind of connected to the first one in that there's no clear action to take. So what do you want them to do? So check your call to actions, okay? So don't just have a destination, tell them how to get there, right? Many business owners, many of us, we have a call to action, but because sometimes we're uncomfortable when it's time to invite people to take action, the call to actions can be quite vague. They're not very clear, right? So when I see your call to actions on your post, I need your call to action to slap me in the face. I need to know exactly what it is you want me to do. I don't need a softly, nothing. I need you to slap me in my face hard so that I know exactly what it is that you want me to do. So if your social media has felt like a lot of effort with very little movement, it might not be a visibility problem. It might be simply that your content hasn't been guiding people towards a clear destination. That is usually the biggest problems that I see. And for those of you who are not looking at the chat, Andrew wants to take a screenshot. So get all of those cameras on for me. Please, let's get a pretty screenshot. Let's get a really nice screenshot with all the beautiful faces in this academy. I keep saying we're the best looking academy. So come on now, don't be shy. Turn your camera on for Andrew, please. So let me ask you this. Who's up for a challenge? Drop a 1 in the chat if you're up for a challenge. There's 46 of us on here. So let me see 45 ones coming through. Who's up for a challenge? Yes, 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 yes. Ah, right. I'm going to screenshot that as well. I'm going to come follow it up. All of you are up for a challenge. I'm loving this. Let's get the challenge on the screen. So I want you to choose a week, right? I'm not going to say next week because it's a little bit too soon. I'm going to give you some time to plan it. So choose a week, and during that week, I want you to stop posting randomly. I want you to choose one outcome. What is it you want people to do during this week? Okay. So we're going to run a 7-day campaign. And what I want you to ask yourself before you run this campaign is, what is the goal of the campaign? Who is it for? What conversation are you going to be repeating to them? And what content will support it? So you're going to be running reels, you're going to be using carousels, one post. How are you going to be doing it? And what action do you want people to take? Let me see if I can copy. Hold on, I've got that. I've got the steps in front of me. So I'm going to copy that and drop it in the chat for you. So there you go. So that is what I want you to ask yourself. What is your goal? Who is this campaign for? What conversation are you going to be repeating? One post a day for that 7 days. Usually I would say about 3 to 4 posts, But because we're running an intense campaign, yes, 7 days. But I don't want you to think that you need to maintain 7 days all the time. And it doesn't have to be. So, for instance, if you're running Instagram, you could do 4 posts on your main Instagram, but then you can post on your stories as well. So you could do 7 days and then do some on your story and some on your main grid. Um, and let me ask you a question because I've given you this challenge, I've given you this homework. Who wants me to create a PDF with the framework and the challenge and some extra notes? Drop a one in the chat if you want me to create a PDF. Yeah, okay, right. So I am going to do that. Make sure you are in my school group. I'm going to drop a PDF in there on this post, okay? So make sure you are in my school group and I'm going to drop the link a little bit later on in the chat so that you can get this PDF. So always remember this, social media is not about posting more, it's about communicating with intention. Okay, it's about communicating with intention. There you go, Nisi. Okay, so when your content has clarity, when it has consistency, when it has direction, it stops being noise and it becomes momentum. Okay, it stops being noise and it becomes momentum. So before we wrap up, okay, I've gone over 5 minutes. So before we wrap up, okay, like I said earlier, if you're not part of my school group, which is called the Elevation Room, make sure you join. Okay, the link to join is going to be in the chat in just a second. I'm going to drop the PDF in there, but in there, I also have loads of mindset in there. I've got momentum stuff. I've got mastery. I've got breakthrough strategies. If you're not a part of the academy or you don't have access to one-to-ones within the academy, there's opportunities there to book one-to-ones as well. So there's loads of stuff in there, okay? So just make sure that you stay connected with me, you keep showing up, and you get ready to elevate everything inside this community, okay? Cool. You're welcome, Faisal. Thank you so much. So before we close, we're going to have a weekly affirmation because we always have our weekly affirmations. I want you to screenshot this and I want you to say it to yourself all the time because you have the power of life and death in your tongue. What you speak comes into existence, okay? So you always need to say these things to bring them into existence. My voice has direction. My message has purpose. My visibility creates opportunity. So, affirmations are not just about feeling good in yourself. Affirmations are also used for business and for social media. So again, my voice has direction. My message has purpose. My visibility creates opportunity. Okay. And with that being said, I'm going to say my mantra one more time. You need to turn your confidence on and your doubt off. You guys can do this. You can run the campaigns. You can get the people in. You can build your wait list. I have faith in you. Okay? I have faith in you. So confidence on, doubt off. So before we go, I just want to say, as usual, I've really enjoyed talking to you guys. I love coming to you guys every single Sunday. I really appreciate you guys turning up. There's 46 of us on this call. That was the highest number I saw, so I really do appreciate you. If your social media feels exhausting, it's probably because you're posting and you're not campaigning. Okay. So the moment you start campaigning, everything changes. The moment you start campaigning, everything changes. Once more, I'm going to put the recording with the PDF in the school group. So make sure you are a part of my school group. Also, make sure you're following me on Instagram. Make sure you're following me on Instagram so you can see when I'm doing my campaigns and you can copy and follow suit. Make sure you join every Sunday, 7 p.m. UK time. We will be here again next week. And of course, you can invite anybody onto this call who needs to push a start the week off, right? This call isn't just for Academy members. People from the outside are allowed to come on as well. So if you've got a friend that needs a little kick, invite them onto the call. And with that being said, thank you very much. We have our Academy Zoom tomorrow, 7 p.m. UK time. Hold on, let me just stop the recording because they don't need to know that. Right, so tomorrow we have our Academy Zoom tomorrow with Nick. We are now in March, so we're in month 3 of our journey of our 12-month journey. So that is going to be exciting. Make sure you tune in for that. Of course, on Wednesday, we have the Implementation Power Hour with yours truly, where we are going to be implementing whatever it is that Nick talks about tomorrow we're going to be implementing in person on the Power Hour on Wednesday. So make sure you have booked those times in. You don't want to miss out. Monday, 7 p.m., Wednesday, 7 p.m. Make sure you let me know in the chats what has been your biggest takeaway for this session. Drop it in the WhatsApp group, drop it in my school group, drop it in the Masters of Influence school group, wherever you are. Just let me know what the biggest takeaway from this session is going to be. And I'm looking forward to seeing your campaigns. So actually also let me know what week you're going to be running your campaign so that I can follow you up and see what is going on. Okay. And with that being said, have an amazing day. Enjoy the rest of your evening, depending on what time zone you're in. Have a good night. Have a good afternoon for those of you in the US. And yeah, love you guys loads. Andrew, did you get some nice pictures today? Yep, yep. Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Love you loads. Bye. Bye, 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 bye.